I want to give a special shout out to all my patrons, my Bibliosprand, Bibliohowlers, and Bibliomancers. Thank you so much for supporting my hobby and passion even more. It means so much to me. Hi, everyone. In today's conversation with authors, I have someone very special here, and that is Ben Galley. Yes, Ben Galley is the author of The Written and also, well, so many books. Seriously, so many books now. And hi, Ben. Can you please introduce yourself first to the audience?
Sure. Hi, Petrik. Great to be here. I'm Ben Galley. I've been writing for the last 12 years now. I'm an author of epic, dark, some grimdark, some weird west, some progression fantasy, all different types and shades of fantasy. And yeah, I'm loitering currently in Canada, originally from the UK, hence the accent. And yeah, I live, breathe, eat, whatever, fantasy. And writing and publishing and all that good stuff as well.
You've been self-published fantasy author for 12 years now, though, right?
Yeah. Published in 2010. December 2010 was my debut novel written. So yeah, I'm old.
Wow, that is insane though. I mean, just the state of traditional publish for self-published fantasy, things have changed a lot since 2010. So many things have changed. And how do you feel about all this?
I'd say mostly positive. Yeah, I just try to think. There's a few changes that have happened that have made us more. It's harder than ever to kind of establish yourself because of the mass amounts of algorithms that now play parts in in our life and our careers. There's a lot more authors. It's the good old, well, I say the good old days, the kind of crazy Middle Ages or Dark Ages of self-published. I mean, I published 3 years after KDP launched, and it was, you could set your book for free and then switch it back to a paid book and suddenly find yourself at the top of the charts. And that's how I ended up next to GRR at one point, next to Game of Thrones in the charts, which was good. But Amazon kind of have caught up on that, and a couple of other platforms have changed as well, which is a bit fairer, but at the same time it's more of I'd say, a challenge in the marketing side and in the publishing side, not so much in the actual, the steps of publishing. That has become standardized. That's one of the big changes. A lot of people are aware of how to self-publish and what the step: editor, cover, designer, formatter, use Amazon, use these platforms, etc. A lot of people know what they're doing, but again, what hasn't changed, I think, is the overall, I think, is the marketing. That is still the author's big job, the big amorphous, never-ending sort of tasks to do. And so, a lot of our jobs as indie authors is marketing, and that hasn't changed since the start. I mean, I've always kind of spent 60% of my time writing, sometimes 50% of my time writing, and the other 50% marketing. And being a marketer, it's essential. And things become even more essential. Otherwise, what I have seen really grow, and the thing that's the most amazing is because like I said, the Dark Ages, the Wild West, I was pretty much alone for a good couple of years trying to figure out this self-publishing process. There wasn't a lot of advice and not a lot of resources that we have now. And so now what we have is just a health and most amazing community, both on Twitter, on groups, on Discords, around bloggers and around, vloggers like you and booktubers. And it's just amazing to see, all these authors banding together, but also chatting to readers and readers coming into the communities. And we're more connected than we've been. So that's incredible. But otherwise, yeah, it's been great. It's been a great ride. Stressful in places, but that's the part of being an entrepreneur, putting yourself out there. So yeah.
And that's kind of crazy though. I mean, from you, because back then, as you said, there is not a lot of resource that talk about the self-published fantasy process of, well, there's a lot of things that you have to do trial and error, right? So what made you decide to self-publish in the first place?
Good question. I was working a terrible job and I'd always wanted to be an author. I wrote my book when I spoke was like and I wrote a couple more books around that age and into my early teens, and then got distracted by other things. But my original dream was to be traditionally published, and to be I was trying to be one of the youngest published authors in the world at the time, but like I said, got distracted, went to college, music, working bars and pubs and small kiosks in train stations selling baked goods. And I was in said kiosk at the time that I was writing The Written. It took me about 18 months to write, and if you'd gone past that kiosk, you'd have seen me scribbling frantically on, a stack of paper and being grumpy at because they're interrupting my editing process. So I had this old kind of childhood dream mixed with just a kind of a low point in my career slash, professional life and personal life, to be honest. I hated that job so much. And I didn't see any way out of it. And I just thought, I'm going to publish a book. I'm going to achieve that and a little wanted to achieve, so many years before, get it out there and just be an author, just jump into the industry. And so, I worked frantically, started doing the research, the classic research of agents and looking at the process and all of that sort of stuff. And while I was actually researching agents, the timescales for obviously traditional publishing, usually a lot longer than the self-publishing timescales. Kind of my desperation started to play into that. So that I was thinking, well, I can't wait 2 years for, to submit to an agent, for an agent to find, a decision from a publisher, or, at all. I might not even get any decision, just be ignored or rejected and, go eventually. And I didn't want to do that. And as I was researching agents, I came across a company that a lot of people will know. It's called Author House.
Okay.
They I would not recommend them. I won't go into it now. I spent the last decade having to go at these companies and turning people away. But what showed me is that there's another option. And of course, they are vanity press. They are one of these companies that charge you a lot of money to publish your book in, let's say, in my opinion, very substandard in terms of professionalism and quality and all that sort of stuff. So I don't agree with them. But looking at the services that they offered and looking at the steps and this checklist of stuff that they could do for you, and coming from a music background where they, in my college, the ACM, they taught us to be self-sufficient and independent as an artist, which involved a lot of marketing and a lot of, working with third parties, professionals like designers and stuff. And it's clicked. Thought, I can do this myself. Okay, I can do all these steps. And then I obviously researched Amazon KDP, which had, like I said, come out 3 years before. I think Kobo Writing Life, which is our other platform, another platform came out, I think it was Nook actually. Barnes and Noble started messing around with a self platform. And it was just at the right time. And then I started looking around on Amazon and all the research just fell into place. And suddenly I thought, right, I get it. There is self-publishing, trad, vanity, which we'll ignore, and then self. And I was like, let's do it. And so, dove straight in. It took me about 6 months. Found a cover designer. Didn't find an editor. Terrible. I just couldn't afford it at the time. Like I said, I was ex-music student working in a kiosk. So I was penniless. I kind of did the editing myself, which good idea. Ended up having to re-edit later on down the line, but like before I knew it, basically I had a book on the store, book on the shelves, and on Amazon, and it started to sell, and that was it. I was an author. So
nice.
Just a desperation, basically, is the short answer to that one.
Well, I would say that it worked out for the best though now, right?
I'm pleased. Yeah, I'm pleased. Whenever I'm down, I kind of look at my shelf because it is very easy as an author, and I think in lots of creative industries, to forget, because you're working so hard on what's next or what's happening currently. It's really hard to forget what you've already done and what you've already accomplished, and it's very quick to just forget, all your achievements. And so I have to catch myself every now and again and think, this, if I showed 10-year-old Ben or 11-year-old Ben what's happening now, be happy as hell. So I'm fine.
And many things have indeed changed. I mean, just from my perspective, I think the first self-published fantasy book that I read, I think it was in 2016. If I'm not mistaken, it was in 2016. And even back then, I was also kind of guilty of saying something like, this is really good for a self-published fantasy book. I know, I was guilty of that. I will not deny that. Okay, but
bad, Petrik.
But I think that's also kind of like the wrong mindset to approach a book in the first place, right? And this is kind of one of the things that have changed so much in the industry right now. Many people are appreciating the quality of self-published fantasy books immediately. They do not think that just because this is a self-published fantasy book, it immediately means that it is bad. There is a lot of traditional published books that are bad. There's a lot of self-published fantasy books that are bad as well. And probably one of the things that have changed so much in self-published fantasy, in my opinion, are the existence of special editions, like this
Yeah.
one, right?
Like that one right there. Oh, I've got a matching one.
Yeah.
Nice. It's looking
Yeah.
good.
It's super cool though. This one is super cool.
Thank you.
Seriously.
I appreciate that so much. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things that have changed so much. And there are now so many special editions, both traditional published and also self-published fantasy. And what made you decide to use Kickstarter to do a special edition for the written?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I dove into Kickstarter and originally I think it was 2014, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
I had this idea of doing, yeah, I know not many people know this. Don't worry. It's
I
very
didn't
under the
know.
radar and ages ago.
Okay,
No,
okay.
I even forget as well. Yeah, no, it was just a Kickstarter to do a graphic novel version of the written, which we did. We ended up making a very, very skinny graphic novel. It just didn't I push it. It was quite expensive to produce, and there's lots of, I mean, it was a massive learning curve. But yeah, so I had a little tiny background in Kickstarter beforehand. But again, that's not for a special edition. That was for an adaptation and a different format. But it was something that the power of Kickstarter and the power of crowdfunding, use people using, that sounds bad, kind of working in partnership with people, backers and a project creator, but using the power of the crowd to fund something, whatever that something may be. I just love it. I remember when crowdfunding came onto the scene, I was like, yes, this is excellent. So yeah, I straight into a graphic novel. But again, yeah, it was a very small project. It raised a decent amount to obviously get the project funded, but the art took about 2 years, and it was just an experiment. But then a couple of 2 years ago, I was seeing the rise in self-publishing, self-published special editions to explode onto the market. I mean, there's been so many great examples of it recently. And it's been my goal to always do originally an omnibus version of the Emaneska series, so all four works crammed into one. Originally it was Peter V. Brett's Demon Cycle, I think it was. Yeah, it's a Demon Cycle special edition. I can't remember whether it was Grimmo or Goldsboro or some special edition house actually created this edition. And my jaw was just like doosh. I just saw this thing. I was like, that is what I want Emaneska to look like. That's always what I envisaged. And I just, check the idea. You've had so much more stuff to do and books to write and deadlines to hit and marketing to do. I was like, it just kept sticking in my brain. And it wasn't about, because I don't think there should be, necessarily massive profit or any profit off of a Kickstarter. It should be facilitating the project, paying for people's time and skills and what have you. It wasn't nothing to do with money. It was more just like, let's do this. Let's, build that crowd and build that, community and give basically the readers. My readers have been asking for Emaneska special editions, or at least just, hardcover versions for years. And I did a couple via Ingram, but then again, they were just prohibitively expensive for print on demand. And so I thought, right, let's do this. Let's do it right. And so, gave the readers what they wanted and spent, a couple of months putting together designs, finding printers and stuff like that, and launching the project. And we have, like you've got, one of these, which I'm so happy I did it. It's fantastic. I met a load of new readers. Obviously, the final product is just gorgeous. I can't wait to see all four together. The omnibus was difficult. The series is chunky, so it ended up either being minuscule text or just a book about this wide. Didn't end up working. So I'm doing each book individually, but it's fantastic to see so many authors just diving into this, because it is through the crowdfunding aspect a great way to actually make these things possible. You'd have to put all that money in yourself up front, and it can be a huge amount of money, tens of thousands, even depending on you want to do with it. But it's a bit complicated on the Kickstarter side as well, and spreadsheets and math. Excuse me, like Googling suppliers and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a lot of work. I'd say it's as much work as publishing, even writing and publishing a book, actually. But it can be just able to find readers, really give something back to your community of readers, existing readers, and yeah, make something beautiful. And it's amazing just seeing so many people doing it. I think it's like a trend. Audiobooks a couple of years ago, big, doorstop books a couple of years before that, people jumping in between genres. But this to be something that will become part of the standard publishing process. I think it's going to be, something you get a book out, or you get a series out, you do the audiobooks, and then you start thinking about special editions, because it's never been more easier. A little bit difficult with the shipping, kind of ongoing shipping crisis.
Yeah, definitely.
Really expensive. Yeah. But otherwise, I love it.
But you handle everything yourself. I mean, you're like the project manager, and everything you do it yourself. I mean, other authors have hired, for example, James Sullivan to do their Kickstarter projects, but not you. You handle everything yourself. And do you find this worth it? I mean, this is very tiring, right? And a lot of work goes into this. And do you find all of this worth it?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, even just to see the special edition in your hands, the first copy, I was like, it's worth it. Was it worth spraying my own edges?
Yeah,
that we got here. Ooh, now that was a mistake. Excuse me. Yeah, that was probably a little short-sighted in retrospect. The reason being is because I've literally got all my airbrush stuff right here, and I did it all literally right here with, I made myself a little spray area and all this sort of stuff, and I did it solidly sprayed 350 books for about a month. Obviously having to learn how to do it as well, and it's kind of temperamental process and temperamental airbrush, so that was too much work, and I've outsourced that for this one. The reason being is because I wanted to try and get it cheaper, per unit and per backer for the first project, to see what I could do. But it is a lot of work. It's a huge amount of time. It's something you can make easier, like I said, by outsourcing. So for Pale Kings, I am outsourcing the sprayed edges for that one, and luckily the person or the company I'm using actually, it's worked out. It's slightly more expensive, but not prohibitively or ridiculously expensive. So you can use companies as well to lighten the load. But yeah, it was, I used it, and for one company, so they did all the postage and the tracking, data entry, and all that sort of stuff. I literally just delivered them a nice box, with the address already printed on it. But yeah, the admin for building the Kickstarter is fun. Then obviously, you've got packaging, fulfillment, putting all things together, a spreadsheet that if anything goes wrong, it's game over, or at least go back to the beginning, export, and start again. So yeah, it is a huge amount of work, but luckily, there are, like I said, just companies that you can lighten the load with. But yeah, I would not underestimate it. And don't spray your own edges. Have a couple. It's fun. It's fun to do. I mean, God, you can have a good time spraying your edges. And I actually did it with a couple of other random books just as a test. I end up doing kind of like actually kind of cool designs on them. So it's like a fun hobby that I'm going to be doing now. But I'm going to keep it as a hobby. Never doing that again.
But I think you did an excellent job though on this. Look, this is really nice. It's so neat. It's so neat too.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, you should see probably the 10 books that were not so neat, because it was just it was the stages of the actual process itself. Because I'd spent a whole week just sat on a kitchen table marking the book, putting a sheet of paper, doing the tape around the edges, making sure the tape is perfect on the inside and isn't going to rip off the end sheets when you take it off, which happened on one book. I think I screeched. Yeah, I had spares, always get spares. That's another thing as well. But yeah, and then obviously you've got to spray and mark, and then there's some touch-ups. So God, it was a nightmare, Petrik. It's just a nightmare, but a happy nightmare, because it was an achievement and it looks good, and everyone's really happy with it. But yeah, should have thought that one through a little bit more. I was just like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like back in, I don't know, was it like June last year? I was planning to be around the start of November last year. And then, it got to like getting all the spraying equipment. I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll be fine. Did the first batch. I was like, it's not going to be fine. It's not going to be fine. 16 more boxes to go through of, like 20, 30 books each. It was interesting.
Yeah, I remember that you shared, right? You shared the spraying edges process on Twitter and also on
Yeah.
TikTok, I think. I remember seeing that and
Mhm.
I thought, wow, Ben is going to do it himself.
Yeah. Ben was thinking the same thing at the same time. Oh dear. But you live and you learn. I mean, it's all about learning from your mistakes. Not that I'd say it's a mistake. It was just a bit too ambitious. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
for Pale Kings, the color will be blue, right? Because this one is red.
absolutely. Yeah. So
This
we've
one is
got
red.
4 colors in the Emaneska series. Yeah. So it's kind of red. Then we've got kind of like a tealy blue, kind of like a turquoise for Pale Kings. And then we'll have kind of like a,
Beautiful.
there it is. Yeah. It's also worth it as well. I mean, that's just literally what you've got there is one of the great things about doing one of these, because you get to make a special, edition for yourself as an author as well. Color printing and something like that is not something we normally do with
Yeah.
100 books. So having an excuse to commission a fantastic cartographer, someone like Soroka Koren who did that one, it's great fun.
And of
I've got
course,
all these
this
little
one.
postcards
This
and stuff
one.
now as well.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm so proud of the illustrations. I really came across a gem with my artist, Dennis Kornev. He out so good. When he first sent me, well, I first saw his portfolio, and he'd done, I think he did a series of Warhammer sketches, very similar to that style, just pen and pencil and line drawing. But yeah, for Warhammer 40K, so all these just incredible images. And I was just, him, thank you. Email straight away. And yeah, and so we've been working together solid for about a year now, actually more than a year, and we're up to I got one more batch to do for the final book, and that's it. So all the illustrations are already done. I know I've been
Wow.
sending you some on Twitter every now and again, so
Yes.
you can see 2 book ahead.
I need to see them.
And I mean, yeah, I'll send you some more because I got some more in, I think, last week. So yeah, it's been a busy week as well. Another piece of advice I'd say if you're thinking about Kickstarter is don't launch a Kickstarter the week before you're about to launch a brand new book, or 2 weeks before you've got audiobooks coming out. October has been mental. So tired from it. But again, so worth it. It really is.
And not only that, I mean, there are also many interior arts inside the written, and there will be more for Pale Kings and the other books in the series. So are you in charge of every single illustrations, or do you leave it to the artist?
A bit of both. I mean, to be honest, I send a very detailed brief. So my brief for each piece of art is at least an A4 page of information, examples of, because I'll just, hunt around on DeviantArt, Google Images, and just find the closest example to what I'm imagining, to then, give Dennis so much information to work with, or at least hopefully enough information to work with. I'll share a snippet of the actual scene so he can read what's happening in the written or Pale Kings, to actually to see kind of the beats of the action, or my descriptions that I've used, and then provide a more description of this color, that color, man lifting sword against lichen on rock, things like that. And then just alternate ideas, all sorts of things. So he gets a lot of information. The first couple of illustrations where we were just kind of finding the style and I would say kind of the mood and the vibe of stuff, it was a bit of feedback. Now I just send him a brief and I just get back pretty much exactly what I imagined. It's weird. We've got this like brain link going on. Or, I don't know. It's more him. It can't just be my writing or like my brief. It's got to be just him. He's just got an amazing way of drawing stuff and like the cinematic way of thinking. He does incredible angles of things that I would just never think of. So now I just send him the brief and go, thanks, Dennis. Invoice me what you want, because I know it's going to be good. And every time, and he just keeps getting better as well. Like the written illustrations are incredible, don't get me wrong, but in terms of, I mean, it's partly to do storyline more epic as well and larger scale, but talking there's demons in the next one. It's so amazing to see. They've gone incredible. So yeah, that's really good. Mostly him. Short answer, it's all Dennis.
I remember seeing the one with the Hydra. Yeah, I think that was the first one that I saw.
That was a fun.
Yeah. Oh my god, I was so mind blown by that.
Me too. God, I think the only feedback I gave him on that one was more dragons and excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only feature I gave him is more dragons and make the armor look a little more Nordic. That was it. Yeah, that was it, done. And then yeah, I've just basically snagged him forevermore. He's actually working on a new cover of mine for my serial book that I'm doing at the moment on Rural Road. So he's working on that in
Oh,
between the illustrations as well. Yeah, color. Yeah, it's looking real good actually. I can't wait to show that one off. I'll send you that later. Don't worry.
yeah. So right now you are certainly planned to make Emaneska special editions, right? But there is actually a Scalussen Chronicles, the sequel trilogy to the Emaneska. Are you
Yeah,
planning to do a special edition for that one as well?
I'd love to. Yeah, I really would, because even though they are chunky books, they're bigger than. Yeah, I think Forever King and Heavy Lies the Crown, the two new books of the Scalussen Chronicles, are bigger than any of the Emaneska books.
Ah.
So yes, they will be slightly more expensive ones. But yes, essentially, I'd love to do that and have basically two box sets. I might do something crazy with the colors. It's hard not repeating the colors right now because there's short stories as well that also have very just like normal, because the covers are just black and color.
Yeah.
So yeah, running out of colors on the spectrum, do that. Yes. I'd love to do that, because yeah, it's going to be 4 books in the Emaneska. We're going to do a big box set sleeve for the final project, and then yeah, I'll probably give myself a little time to relax, and then yeah, dive into the Scalussen ones, because I've still got book 3 to put out of as well. So that'll be a while. So yeah, maybe in a couple of years. But I've got like the bug now. I've got this desire and obsession with special editions. And I've also, as a reader, I've been snapping up all the special editions that I can. Like obviously the new Sword of Kaigan Kickstarter is crushing it.
Yeah.
Wraith marked editions are beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. Other people are going back to what I said about Kickstarter for whatever project. I'm also seeing a lot of people doing adaptations now as well, audiobooks. I've seen a lot of authors like is it Richard Knack? He's using it to basically fund his writing process and publishing process. Another great way to use Kickstarter. And yeah, I'm constantly on the publishing page of Kickstarter, just scrolling around, being like, purchase, spending far too much money. But that's it. That's what being a reader is all about, isn't it? So yeah, it's just amazing. It's a great time. It's sort of opened up just a new door, I think. But yeah, I've definitely been bitten. And I think probably about 5 years from now, I just have all my books just again as special editions, even the ones that I published and haven't done well. Screw it, why not?
It is a dangerous hobby though, because I think it's only recently
yeah.
as well that I'm started to get very attracted to special editions, and wow, it is it is an expensive hobby.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see like indie authors. I would say, because a lot of the projects that I've seen, and also from my own costs, are a lot cheaper than what you'd see from some of the houses that produce
Oh,
traditional special
absolutely.
editions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they're actually, I would say, I mean, taking your mind, if I can say that and be humble.
Yeah.
But basically, the Mark of Kings special edition that I got recently, that is up. I mean, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between that and Grimoire Goldsboro Press one. I mean, yeah, it's up there, about half the cost, roughly, off the top of my head. So I mean, yeah, it's great to see indies doing it in their own way as well, and producing similar editions. So yeah, I'm all for it. My wallet is all for it as well. So my bank account. Oh man.
I think one of the reasons, and I could be wrong about this, so I'm not sure about this, but I think one of the reasons why the special edition for books traditionally published are more expensive, I think it is also because it is a requirement from the traditional publisher. I think I heard that is, I think, most often the case. So it is not only because like for example, Grimoire Press wants to make a profit from it, but also because traditional publisher of the book required it. But I don't know. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens definitely a huge amount. Definitely, I know it's happened with a few of the authors that I've spoken to. It's been a part of the contract and laws that like this is going to happen and will happen. Yeah, that's the thing. It's great to see indies basically copying once again another traditional process.
Yeah.
And just doing it in their own terms. I mean, yeah, we've always done that. I mean, self-publishing was just copying the traditional process for an entrepreneur. And self-publishing, as a lot of people know, is not a new thing. It dates all the way back to Virginia Woolf and Mark Twain, and
Yeah.
you could even say, in a way, I mean, not Darwin, Charles Darwin, Charles Dickens, was kind of serializing, completely different fantasy author. He was serializing his publications, and then I can't remember if he paid for it or a friend paid for it. I swear I'm probably wrong. Someone's going to put this in the comments to correct me, please. But yeah, I just, in my addled, tired brain, remembers something about him kind of funding or part funding, almost maybe crowdfunding, the first printings.
Oh.
Some of his works. So that's self-publishing. It dates all the way back. I probably got that completely wrong now. It probably was Charles Darwin. But yeah, in any case, it goes way back. And the idea of just, copying the steps is what Vanity did. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing about self-publishing, is that, we kind of, we've always been doing it, but then we had, platforms come along like Amazon KDP and Press and KWL, and it's great. Now we have the abilities to go straight to the reader, just like a traditional publisher. That's been the whole basis of the revolution that I've been watching gleefully from the sidelines. Not that I traditional publishing to crumble, or I'm not against traditional publishing. There are some fantastic, especially in the fantasy world, incredible publishers out there that do amazing work, that are author-centric, that work in partnership with the author rather than just taking a lot from them, which some publishers have done past certain genres. And the deals haven't been that great, even though they sound great. And so yeah, it's just fantastic to kind of see that also happening in the traditional world as well, where they're kind of self-publishing had the revolution, and it's kind of come back around and almost influenced traditional publishing as well, and it just keeps being a cyclical process. So yeah, I don't know what next. Gamifying. Everyone's gonna do D&D 5e adaptations in the fantasy world. I think we've only just seen the start of this diversification that's happening right now. So yeah, it's gonna be amazing. VR is gonna be huge as well. I think
I saw Michael Miller did that, right, for his Songs of Chaos, D&D.
That's exactly what I was about to mention. Yeah, it's doing really well. I think it's almost finished, or it's about to finish as of today. And yeah, it's great. He's funded. It's going to happen. He's working with a really cool company that it's. And I'm not going to lie, I was looking at that thinking, I'm doing that next. Yeah, I've always wanted to do a D&D adaptation. I worked on. I was writing for a game a couple of years back, a local game here in Canada, in BC, and it was just so much fun, complicated, and very in depth, and a bit of a learning curve for someone who has played a little D&D. Don't judge me, anyone who's watching as a fantasy author. I've only played a little bit of D&D, but yeah, working on it, something that I'd love to do an adaptation. I think the magic system in Emaneska, the characters, because I have a lot of different characters that band together in different groups all the way through the series. Yeah, it would work really well for an adventure. I think. Yeah, that's next. That's
nice.
Stuck in my mind now, isn't it?
You're gonna make yourself busy again.
Yeah, I can't help it. I really can't. It's something like last year I spent like a couple of weeks just trimming things out, platforms I didn't need, shutting this down, shutting that down, just really kind of giving myself more time to write. And then suddenly I was like, let's do the Kickstarter. Why do I keep doing this? It's an obsession. I'm never not working. I just tried to get like a weekend away because I've got family visiting here at the moment. We just went for a weekend away, and I'm just still like just typing away in the corner. It's an obsession, but I like it.
And I think it is such a great choice that you make. It is that you make it possible for people to order the written through your Pelking Kickstarters, and also I think the next one as well, because many people ask me about this edition, right? But they missed out on it. But now they can get it through the Pelking Kickstarter. Yep,
100%. So it was a bit more admin to do, but it had to happen because it was, again, we mentioned algorithms, just people not being around, busy times, loads of different reasons why someone might not see something, never mind just not following someone or being aware of it. So even my fans every now and again, on my readers, will be like, why didn't I know this happened? I was like, I have talked about it solidly for a year. But thanks to Facebook's algorithms, haven't. So yeah, that happened to a lot of people, and it's just something that is not, it's a bit more admin, but it's not too much, especially now that I'm outsourcing all of the sprayed edges, and have found a printer that can perfectly replicate the first one that we did with different binders and printers locally here in Vancouver. So yeah, I had it was just something that I'm really pleased that I could do, and luckily my fulfillment company has found some like a lot cheaper. So obviously sending 2 books in a reasonably large box can be quite expensive. You know, sending it especially out from Canada to, you know, Australia, New Zealand, or Asia, you know, Eastern Europe, sort of all the places can be really expensive. So yeah, luckily everything kind of fell into place, and we actually found some decent shipping costs, and the printers were like, yeah, cool, we'll do both, no problem at all. Yeah, it actually came to fruition. So yeah, we're going to do, you can get books 1 and 2 on the 3rd Kickstarter, and you get books 1, 2, and 3 on the 4th Kickstarter. And so at that point, I'll be sending out boxes like this, but screw it. Why not? Yeah, that's it really. So yeah, I'm glad I was able to do it. And people have really appreciated it as well. And I think that's what's made this Pale Kings Kickstarter even more of a success than I thought it was going to be as well. So blown away. I mean, it was 100% funded in 30 minutes, I think 28 minutes. And I just think I got up and got some breakfast. But yeah, because I got up because the best times to launch Kickstarters are always 8 a.m. EST on a Tuesday. Don't ask me why. That's what Google says, and that's what my research will show. And it is true. I mean, I think that's also why this one might have been quite successful as well, because I did that exact time. And I think I got up at 5, sleepy as hell, pressed the launch button, did all like the marketing and stuff that I needed to do, turned around and I think grabbed some breakfast or a glass of water, and then came back and I was like, okay,
it's done.
Yeah, I was shocked. I really was. And again, the last one was funded 100% funded in 8 hours. So yeah, we really shrunk that one down. But again, I mean, it's a lot of the times we authors, you know, indie and trad, kind of owe our success or hype to, you know, one thing, one simple thing, and that is cover. And, you know, so I managed to find an incredible designer who is also happens to be my girlfriend. Rachel. She is a designer and artist, typographer, and she just smashed that cover to bits. She really did. I remember just looking over her shoulder and just taking a peek on what she was working on, and just thinking, that, yes, we'll have that, thank you very much, done and dusted. Yeah, she's just really perfectly captured the kind of Norse energy of Emaneska, because it's obviously incredibly Norse, it's twisted Norse mythology, but it's Norse mythology kind of extrapolated to this real world. And so yeah, it's great. I love it. I have not stopped looking at it since last year. And yeah, I mean, there's a little, not Easter eggs, people have probably figured it out, but for instance, the runes on the front, because I had to do an appendix well, not had to, I chose to do, because I have always wanted to do a Lord of the Rings style appendix in the back. And so there's the alphabet, and I created a full alphabet. So I don't know, if you were so inclined, you could probably translate what's on the front and what's on the back. And then that might change on Pale Kings and tell not a story, but it kind of like relates to the world. So
I have to translate this.
Yeah. It's well, it's not a spoiler, but it's a part of a prophecy that's mentioned in the book. So it's kind of like it's a little Easter egg and all that sort of fun stuff. But yeah, that appendix was fun because I mean I did all the design on the inside. So yeah, Rachel did all of the outside, and I side the interior formatting and page design, which took so long, but actually it taught me how to use a lot of tools. So I'm really pleased with that. A lot of Adobe tools we used, and had a lot of YouTube videos watched to try and learn how to do it. And then yeah, I'm really glad because it means all my future books are now there in Adobe tools. So yeah, done.
So awesome, man. And
Thank
you know, I mentioned about how you handled every Kickstarter project, and also you wrote books pretty much all by yourself. But recently you released a new book, right, titled Demon's Reign. But for that book, you co-write it together with another author, and also this time it is not published by yourself, I guess. Yeah, it's published through Ratemark. Yeah, published through Ratemark, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how is your experience on this? Do you think you will be doing this more often in the future or not?
You know what? It was the writing stage aside, the publishing stage. I kept thinking like, there's something I've missed because it's all in someone else's hands. Yeah, you know,
Ah.
and it was really easy just to be and quite nice and comforting. I kind of got a glimpse at like more of a trad process, just to be like, is the book up? Cool. I haven't
Ah.
even, I haven't typed anything into a dashboard. I haven't done anything else. So that was kind of yeah, a lot less of a workload than I'm used to, which was just a nice little touch. Obviously, that's what happens when someone else publishes for you. But yeah, that was nice just to be on launch day, just be like, cool, how we doing? Good. And yeah, I'm not sending like emails to Amazon to do this. I'm not like working on keywords categories. It's all done. And it's great because obviously Wraithmark are so experienced in what they do, being
Yeah.
run by Bryce. They've had incredible amounts of success individually and as a company. Obviously David Estes, who I co-authored with, has been incredibly successful in his work as well. And he knows exactly what he's doing. So yeah, it's great to just have both of those people and Wraithmark and David just behind the book and making sure that it was a success, which I think it has been. It's had some really high rankings. The audiobook was doing incredibly well, or is doing incredibly well. So yeah, it was a great process, to be honest. Specifically the publishing stage, and the writing stage was, that was brand new to me as well. I've never co-authored anything.
Hmm.
It's all me, up until now. But yeah, over the last year and a half working with David, emails back and forth, a very kind of very collaborative process. It was mostly me doing the kind of the words on keys or fingers on keys. And then, but I would send the chapter as soon as I'd written it. No editing, just going back and forth, changing things, working on things, tweaking, making sure we're headed in the direction. And then a lot of phone discussions for figuring out what do we do next. How is this chapter going to impact the rest of the book? Because Demon's Reign is a chunk as well. It's a big book. It's also in probably the most complex world I've ever created, and David and I did a lot of creation on that as well, and coming up with so many different ideas. And it's a batshit world. It's mental. There's, for instance, little bits on it. I mean, I don't use the word soldier once. I don't use the word guard once. I
Oh.
don't use the word sunset, dawn, here. So none of these words are actually used because the world I tried to make it so second on a
Ah.
lot of different mythologies rolled in together. It's fully arboreal. So it's a world of mile-high trees called Bloodwoods, which obviously have cities in the branches. So kind of a bit inspired by Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar, as well as the
Ah.
magic systems
Yeah,
inspired
yeah,
by
yeah, yeah.
Last Air Avatar. And the kind of the main characters kind of journey, Taka and Sarisi, they're very much inspired by Venom. So it's all wrapped up in this incredibly secondary world, with a lot of kind of messing around with the two characters, because one is stuck in the other one's head. So there's always
Oh.
this whispering and inner dog, Taka, that no one else hears.
Ah,
And so
yeah, yeah.
that was really, really fun to do. And there was a lot of collaborative processes with that one, with that aspect as well. So yeah, there's a lot of work, but I think it would have been infinitely more work for me to do alone.
Ah.
And David, you rocked with it. It would have either just taken twice as long, or I probably would have just had a bit of just a struggle. Probably would have just hit a block on it, because it's complicated, not necessarily in story, but world, construction of it. And also it's progression fantasy, which is something I'm new to writing. So there is progress. It's not lit RPG in a way where it's very, very numbers based, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of rankings, a lot of orders and sort of classifications that the character rises through. And that was really fun as well. David's got a bit more, probably a lot more actually, experience in that genre and that world. So again, invaluable to do. And it's just, there's just no complaints, Petrik, none at all. It's just been a great time. The cover design process was awesome as well, because I again constructed a brief, but then Wraithmarked and Bryce specifically, because he gets some incredible cover art for his own books and
Yeah.
for other Wraithmarked books. He knows how to work with designers, and he gets the best designers in. And so this one was done by Yam and Sean T. King, as always. The most prolific designer typographer in the fantasy world, I swear. And yeah, that was an amazing process, because it suddenly just got delivered into my inbox one day, and I was like, I think I just collapsed the street.
I,
And
you
it
know,
was really fun.
I
And weirdly,
absolutely,
oh, sorry.
I absolutely love the cover art to Demon's Reign. It is so badass, so
Thank you.
cool.
It's so good, isn't it? Yeah, it really, it shows Otako and Cerisi in the best way. It's interesting because the cover process happened halfway through the writing, whereas
Mm.
normally I'm doing it at the end of writing, or towards the end of the editing process. I'm starting to get the cover going, and those two kind of jobs overlap. So it's really funny because Yam put in these little creatures around Taka and Cerisi. They're like, I think there's 4 or 5 of them on the cover, and I hadn't yet written them into the book. And then I suddenly realized that genius need more of like a foot soldier creature alongside the demon horde. And so Navik were invented, and they're actually terrifying in the book as well. They freak me out to write them because they're just these horrible little rodent lizard mini demon things that can have like multiple arms or multiple heads, and or just, I don't know, 4 limbs. And see, yeah, they kind of screech and scrabble around, run at you like World War Z zombies, and it's just but it was a great idea. So that was a really collaborative process. Yeah, it worked really, really well. But yeah, I'm so pleased. From start to finish, it's been a great experience, and I think we've got a really good book out of it. People seem to be enjoying it. It seems to be doing well in the rankings on Amazon, Apple, and the second one, I cannot wait to show people because I'm really, really proud of that book as well. All I'm going to say is giant hummingbirds, right? So you can ride giant hummingbirds at almost speed of sound levels, and it's just great. It's like I'm usually writing dragons, and
Yeah.
obviously dragon riders are featured a lot in my books, so it's a really nice and fun change to switch like a bird in a forest world that it's so fast they actually kind of defy time. But yeah, so the second book is a lot of that. Got a biker gang of hummingbird riders, basically.
I'm really
So yeah, it's
glad
going to
to
go
hear
even
that.
more batshit.
I'm really glad to hear that
Yeah, me
because
too.
Demon's Reign, hopefully it's on my TBR for this month, hopefully, but you know how busy my TBR can get sometimes. But
Oh
yeah,
yes,
if not
I
this
dread to
month,
think.
yeah, if not this month, then definitely with the next year, probably early next year. But yeah, I'm excited, especially
Oh
after
man,
hearing you
I
talk
hope you
about
enjoy
it.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No, yeah, it's hard. I feel weird talking about my books in the kind of sort of celebratory way, or because I like to be humble, of course, but I'm really, really proud of this one.
Yeah,
And the
you
second one
should
is
be.
great
You
as
should
well.
be
So
proud.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Well, hopefully a special edition. If it does well, Wraithmark normally do a special edition if does well. So fingers crossed we'll see that on Kickstarter in a year or two as well. So that could be fun.
Yeah, because some people are asking me about that actually, because they ask right now I don't think there is a physical edition for Demon's Reign right
No.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, some
Yeah.
people ask me
It's just
about that,
ebook and audio.
and I said I don't know because I'm not the publisher here, but I think maybe they're
Yeah.
planning to do something similar to Mother of Learning. Yeah, maybe something like that in the future. That's what I said anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. That's pretty much right. Yeah, that is fingers crossed on that one. And it seems to be, like I said, doing all right. Definitely in the rankings and sales and reviews as well. Just some great reviews that come in from readers completely outside my circle, which is great to find new readers and connect with new people as well. So yeah, it's yeah, fingers crossed, basically.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Well, before that
Can't do it.
happen, I will definitely
write you a
try.
book.
I will definitely try to get to it before that happens.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I hope you enjoy
Yeah.
it.
So last question, Ben. Because I think this is a trilogy, right? Bloodwood Saga is a trilogy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. So you
I
got
I know that things are not set in stone yet, but when do you plan to release book 2 and book 3? Just approximate is okay.
good question.
Yeah.
I can be approximate and say this decade. No, I'm joking. I mean, I'm basically almost done. Yeah, it's going to be a lot sooner than that. Yeah, I'm basically almost done with the second one, and David and I are just kind of working on the latter half of it. And yeah, because I've just been writing solid. So we've got a deadline for December, so we'd like to hit that deadline. And fingers crossed we will. There's a lot of crossing of fingers. But yeah, so I'm pretty confident about that one. The whole plot is set. It's just purely writing it, and just kind of seeing if it does go in any different directions, just making sure it doesn't take too long to do. So by hopefully December and January and February next year, it'll be edited, and the cover design will probably be worked on. So I can't necessarily speak for Wraithmark, but I'm hoping maybe early summer launch, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit of a look up. So yeah, fingers crossed it'll be, I keep saying that. So hopefully it will be sooner rather than later, because I know a lot of people are already asking for book 2.
Yeah.
The story, I'm really, because my problem is I love a cliffhanger. I love cliffhangers, especially between trilogies.
Oh, you
But
evil.
I know. So this is the thing. I don't normally do it, but I got a taste for it while rating Chasing Graves, and because that was released over 100 days, and it was like a real rapid release, I was able to kind of have a cliffhanger, and then you only wait like a week or two to actually find out the cliffhanger. But I don't like leaving people with like a cliffhanger of a year. I read a
Yeah.
book once. It was so long ago. I cannot remember the name of it. I've been trying to find it for a while, and it had such a cliffhanger. I quite literally threw it across the room and broke the spine of the book because I was so enraged. It felt more like just the whole time I've been reading, not even an origin story, but like half an origin story.
Yeah.
I was like, it was great, but that ending just annoyed me. So I try not to do that because I know what it does to readers. But with Demon Grain, it's very nicely rounded off. There's not a lot of cliffhanging to be done. So hopefully, yeah, it's not too antagonizing of a wait.
Well, that's really great to hear, seriously. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Ben, for coming to my channel. Seriously, it
Thank
means a
you.
lot.
Oh,
And
no, it's honestly, it's a great honor to be here, Petrik, because you do such great work for authors, both trad, indie, and fantasy in general. So yeah, it's been absolutely wonderful to come chat to you.
it is my pleasure, seriously. And for those of you who are watching this, remember that Pell King's Kickstarter is still going on right now. It's almost ended, right? When is this ending? Next week?
8 days left. 8
Yeah.
days as of today. Yeah. So next Tuesday. Yeah. What day is it today? Tuesday. I'm so tired. Yeah, basically it said 8 days. I checked it earlier this morning. It said 8 days. So
Yes.
yeah.
So there are
Not
only
long
8
left.
days left. So if you haven't pledged to the Kickstarter, make sure to do it. And of course, Demon's Reign is out now. You have to read it. I do have to read it as well. So yeah. Thank you so much, Ben, for coming. Seriously,
Nice,
it
yeah.
means a lot.
Thank you, Petrik. Oh, it's been great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.